people 18 to 30, only about 20% of them, and this was an older statistic before this study, go to Mass. He said, but however, of that same age group, of all of that age group who attend the traditional Latin Mass, 99% of them go to Mass every Sunday. So again, we need any more evidence of the effect of the Novus Ordo on the church and the positive effect of the traditional Latin Mass, right, on those who attended. Other studies have shown, 95% of Catholics who go to the traditional Latin Mass observe the church's teaching on marriage and contraception and family. 98% of them have a clear belief in the Blessed Sacrament compared to less than a majority. So when do you think the bishops are going to look at the numbers and see reality for what it is, that they're losing the church?
Well, let's do a deep dive diagnosis here. And it begins and ends, I think, answer to the question, why is there a hell? Okay? It takes a lawyer to come up with the knockdown argument. St. Alphonsus Liguori had the knockdown argument. There has to be a place of eternal punishment, not just to vindicate the divine justice, but to get the reprobate to realize that they had better follow at least the moral law, the Ten Commandments. Because if there is no eternal punishment, the reprobate soul will say to itself, well, I can do 20,000 years in purgatory standing on my head. I know God's going to let me out sooner or later, so I'll just live my life the way I want to live my life. And, if I have to put up with a lot of suffering in the afterlife for some limited period of time, okay, fine, but eventually I'll get to heaven. So if there is no hell, no threat of eternal punishment any longer in catechesis, why would anyone ultimately, who is just a nominal Catholic, remain such? We're not talking about doing what is good because it is good. We're not talking about practicing the things of the faith because they are uplifting, because they allow for the full flourishing of the human being. We're talking about just the naked idea of divine punishment. And John Paul II said in his book-length interview, Crossing the Threshold of Hope, that the idea of death, judgment, heaven, and hell, the four last things, eternal punishment, is gone in post-conciliar teaching. And the church now seems to say, we're okay, you're okay, all religions are more or less good. But what's this nonsense about eternal punishment and hell? We don't talk about that anymore. So why wouldn't people who are lukewarm, to begin with, just drift away from the faith? And those in the traditional movement understand the four last things. And if nothing else, they're praying constantly for the grace of final perseverance. But there's no need for that, according to the post-conciliar church, because we no longer talk about the threat of hell.